I wonder if the Dear Doctor knew his fate would be a double dip. Here's a look at McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse, McFarlane Toys Digital, Platinum Edition, Dr. Fate. Upon wearing the ancient alien golden helmet of fate, Kent Nelson transforms from kindly academic into the sorcerer Dr. Fate, one of the founding members of the Justice Society. Dr. Fate is able to use his powers to wield magic, conjure illusions, and see the future. I don't really think it took a helmet to know that a reuse of this mold was in the figure's future. Still though, let's take the tape measure and see how tall the Justice League of America Dr. Fate Platinum Edition actually stands. Now, if you've already collected the original Dr. Fate in the lighter blue and the lighter yellow, he's essentially going to be using the same mold, just doing it all in slightly darker colors, and of course now incorporating some metallic gold. By the way, though, I did order this one, or I did buy this one from Popeye the Toy Man. Burr, 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 burr. Over on the Facebook selling group. If you guys want to check out his current listings, you can click the link down below in the video description. Back, though, to measuring. Dr. Fate, yeah, because, of course, he's using the same figure mold, he's using the same figure size. He's going to be 7 inches in height, or roughly about 17.5 centimeters tall. So here's this Dr. Fate, and here's this Dr. Fate here. Exact same mold. It's just a personal preference as to which one you like a little bit more. I like this one from the color scheme that I just really like the darker colors, and I think the gold really works well for this mold. And yet, though, I think when displaying him with the rest of my DC Multiverse figures, I would tend to more lean towards this one just because I think the primary blue and the primary yellow work a little bit better for that kind of collection. Same mold isn't the only thing that these two doctors share. They also share a very limited quantity of accessories. I mean, really outside of a display stand and a trading card, the only other thing that comes included with Dear Doctor happens to be, though, the McFarlane Toys digital card redemption. Well, it's a redemption card. The front of the card doesn't give anything away, though, but on the back of this, all you have to go to is www.mtd.gg to download the McFarlane Toys digital viewer app for your Mac or your PC. Scratch the above, which I'm about to do. I'm not just going to pretend to do it. And then, of course, that will reveal your code. Go and create your account and log in, and then go to the top redemption code at the top left corner of the screen, and, of course, follow the instructions in the pop-up window. That's all that's involved. Let's reach off to the side. I'm going to grab myself my nail clippers here, which I don't tend to be using much anymore anyways, because I've now switched gears and I'm using this instead. Somebody had asked me why I did end up changing from this to this, and yes, in both cases I still kept it in black. Ideally, though, while this worked really well for clipping like the actual little plastic straps on the back to hold the figures inside of their plastic prisons, it was always really kind of hard to kind of get into some of them, and I found like this just ended up being a whole lot easier. I can really kind of get in there, get into the little, like, far enough recessed areas and really get in there to clip those clippers, the little snips. Anyways, if you guys were wondering why I had switched over, that was basically it was just a whole lot easier to clip the little twist ties using this instead of actually one of these. Does anybody really care? I know, if anything, you guys probably care more about the redemption code. Okay, fine. So let's go ahead and take this. We're going to scratch away the top here to reveal the number underneath. I think we can establish that there's nothing more over there, so we'll kind of move our attention over to the rest of the other side of the village. Scratch away, scratch away, scratch away all. I think we got all of that. Okay. For those that currently have their eyes closed, it's FENENNCVHMBLGZ. Now, if I was doing this over the phone, I would have to say, like, F as in Frank, E as in Edward, and only just pray that I don't have that whole long list of letters that I have to recite and then match it to a word that goes with that letter. Anyways, that's the code right there. Feel free to redeem it. You don't have to tell down below who ended up doing it. If you did, you want to brag about it, by all means, go ahead and do that if you want. Okay, so the figure does come included with a trading card. I was kind of really expecting that the trading card would not necessarily be different from an image standpoint, but that maybe the border would have been a little bit different. Like maybe one would have been done in black, would have maybe done the other one in blue, but they are identical cards. Identical. In fact, if you look on the back of them as well, there's nothing at all to say that this one belongs to this one and that this one belongs to guy over here, which is actually Dr. Fate's right over there. So the cards are identical to one another. Nothing at all is different. So in a case like this, for the limited 5 that actually care about this, usually what I end up doing is if I have identical cards, I stack them together like this and I put them inside my trading card sheet. I've done it as early as the days of collecting like the DC Cosmic cards, the McFarlane Toys, or not the McFarlane Toys, the X-Men Jim Lee trading cards. Usually if I have like doubles, I always put them inside the same sheet. Does anybody do that, or do you like put them right next to it and just waste all the additional real estate space for extra trading cards. I know I talked really a lot about other things instead of talking about the figure itself. Okay, so Dr. Fate comes also included with a display stand. Here I go, still talking about trading cards. The display stand has still the McFarlane Toys digital across it. Still has, of course, the peg on the top corner that can plug into either one of Dr. Fate's boots. Okay, all right. As for Dr. Fate himself, again, like I'm going to move this guy over here, and I'm going to bring in the original one. It really, for me, is a personal preference as to where I'm going to be displaying Dr. Fate. Now, if I already have a lot of my Justice League figures out, like the Silver Age stuff, going right away with this Dr. Fate because I like the brighter colors of the blue, and I think the yellow works a lot better. If I'm looking at it just from a figure standpoint, there's something to be said about the gold. And even though it's really not technically blue, it's actually kind of coming across more as black. I think it works really well with this particular mold. We'll maybe bring this guy back a little bit later. Because, of course, he's using the same mold, he's going to have, again, the same exact Fate helmet. Still has the ears visibly on the side. This one's still a little harder to make out his eyes. I'm still, though, convinced that the helmet was probably a secondary piece, that they probably would have gone in there. Because, like, how much of a space do you have to work with to get a tiny little paintbrush in there to outline the eyes? It would be next to impossible. No. I think what they've done instead is they probably have painted the eyes and then have taken then a second piece of the helmet and put it over top of the face underneath. For those that are probably asking, well, could you remove the helmet? What would be underneath? I think it would be next to nothing. You probably just see a pair of eyes looking at you, and the rest of his face would look like it fell against a big giant eraser. Yeah, just took off his face completely. Helmet looks good, though, and I think it works really well for the gold. The gold carries then also down to the rest of his body, although it doesn't seem to be as bright as his helmet. For one reason or another, they chose to go with a really dark gold for his the tops of his gloves, his trunks or his lower underoos, and also his amulet on the front. Ideally, if I was doing this myself, and I'm not working for McFarlane Toys yet, I probably would have still kept the colors as bright as the helmet. I don't know why they chose to go with such dark colors, maybe to make it closer to his body, but honestly, though, I think really the gold, this must have been a paint error. Because, like, again, like looking at how well they've done it here. I know, again, like if you're looking at his wrist and you're looking at his helmet, these are two things that probably would have been molded in the gold plastic. And because, again, like his body being so dark like this, they probably would have had to try to go in here and paint the gold and match the colors as best they can. I would have probably still gone in there with maybe a second coat of paint. I know, that's money. We're talking about money for the added cost of doing that. But it just, unfortunately, though, it's just not nearly as bright as it is for the helmet or his hands. The lower boots are also pretty much the same idea as well. I mean, there's just, I guess because, again, you're going to have to paint a gold over top of dark plastic that ends up giving us the result of such dark boots, such dark gloves, such dark collar piece. The one thing that's also the saving grace on this figure as well is not just his helmet, but also the fact that his cape. Look how shiny the cape actually ends up being. To bring back in the other Dr. Fate, the other Fate would have had just a regular yellow cape. The gold, I think, works really well. It also still has the wire that's built into this. So there's a wire that runs down here. There's a wire that runs down here. And, well, I shouldn't say there's a wire that runs in the middle. They've only really stitched the bottom of the cape. Personally, though, it really depends on the character that I'm displaying it. I've found, really, though, that even if you just have a wire that's running on either side of a figure's cape, you can still pull off decent poses. I mean, like, look how quickly I just phoned that in. I didn't really even have to think about it. I just closed my eyes and just kind of hoped for the best. I just curled the cape up. Some people don't really like to have wires built into here because then if you have the cape straight, for example, you don't have a natural drape. It's rigid. It's stiff. It looks like it's been covered in starch. I prefer really to have the cape more relaxed down below here and really rely only on just the wires here and here. That's just my personal preference, though. Now, for the figure's articulation, if you're familiar with the other Dr. Fate, the same rule would apply for this one as well. Head's going to rotate all the way around. It does look down. It does look up. And you can also move it back and forth as well. The upper torso is going to be in a ball joint. I know, again, we've talked so much really about the gold. I know we haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking about it's not really in blue either. Like if you look at Dr. Fate here, the original one, I mean, you can look at that and you can know that looks as blue. This one actually comes across more like black from a distance. But if you look real close to it, there seems to be more of a blue tint added to the black. In fact, it's actually like a really, really, really dark blue, probably with a little bit of gray in there as well. But it's definitely still, I feel, a shade of blue. It's just really toned down dark. Anyways, though, back to the figure's articulation, yeah, he has an upper torso ball joint. Same rule applies as well for his lower abdomen area. That's also on a ball joint as well. His arms rotate all the way around. No hindrances at all with the cape because, of course, the cape is only pegged in here and here. The arms hinge out at 90 degrees. In fact, actually, with Dr. Fate, you can pull off even more of a T-pose. He has a swivel at his bicep on this side, too. The figure does also have a double hinge on the elbow over here as well. The hands rotate all the way around. Unfortunately, again, the figure is only really relegated to having one gripping hand and one closed fist on the other. The other Dr. Fate had the exact same thing as well. Not that he really had any accessories, but really if you're going to include like a gripping hand like this, I feel it just teases a collector to think that the figure could have potentially come included with something else as well. As for his legs, they split out about that far. You can take, of course, the legs, move forward, move them back, about that far back, about that far forward. There's a swivel, a very, very mild swivel at the top of the thigh. And when I do this, I know a lot of times it really more is just to do with the way that they've assembled the figure. I'm not going to necessarily say like he has a swivel cut. I mean, swivel cuts tend to be a little bit lower down, but by its assembly alone, you can only do about this much forward and back on the leg. The figure does also have a double hinge on the knee. I wanted to also point out too, like the coloring of his knee plate here, and actually even his elbows aren't really quite the same color as everything around it. They seem like they're one shade lighter. They also seem like they're not as shiny either. The figure doesn't have any articulation here down below for his boot. He does, however, though, have an ankle pivot up and down and an ankle rocker as well. Not to mention, of course, the figure does have toe articulation as well. All in all, though, it's a good-looking Dr. Fate. The only thing that's a bit of a letdown is that they tried to color match as best they could. I mean, we know here is molded plastic. We know here is molded plastic. But then they tried to do their best to match those things with things that then they had to go in and paint in gold. I feel, again, like they probably could have maybe used a lighter shade or gone in there with a second coat of paint. I know, again, it's an added expense on the company's part. But it is one thing that makes, unfortunately, all the other gold parts on the figure look a little dark, a little dingy, a little faded. Whereas, of course, when we looked at this Dr. Fate, everything was very bright. I know, again, like when we looked at the yellows here, the yellows in some of the areas are still going to be following the idea that these have to be painted, these have to be molded. But I think like the yellow read a little bit better on the original Dr. Fate that we looked at. Still, though, I mean, looking at really the two, I'm going to still be displaying this Dr. Fate with all the other figures like my DC Universe Classics, especially like my Silver Age stuff. Silver Age figures I feel should be bright, vibrant in colors. So for that, I probably would not display this Doctor with those figures, especially on that lineup. But I think there's definitely still a place on my shelf to have a Dr. Fate that's in the darker colors like this with the gold. I think I like this figure more, but I think for my collection space, I think I like this Dr. Fate as being the one I would prefer to display with those figures, if that makes any sense at all. I'm happy still to have both. I'm disappointed, though, that the figure still is unfortunately relegated to only having a display stand and a trading card. I think for a fate for a figure like this, moving forward, figures like this should come included with at least, I feel, one accessory. Even if the one accessory just ends up being swappable hands, it just makes me feel then that the company wants to give us something above and beyond just trading cards and display stands. Sometimes what we do as collectors is we feel the need to add boundaries to figures where they have to belong to a certain lineup on our shelf. As a Dr. Fate fan, for example, one may favor to go with the brighter blue and the yellow because that works a little bit better with the Silver Age lineup. And I get that. I'm going to be doing that myself. But I think there's still a place on your shelf for the Doctor being darker like this. The darker blue and the gold especially make this figure work, I feel, a little bit better, even though I know myself I'm never going to be having this guy displayed with my Silver Age Superman, my Silver Age Batman. Those are all figures. Those are all going to be the ones that are going to have the other Dr. Fate with the brighter blue. That's just, for me, the way I'm going to have my collection lined up. Dr. Fate, though, is still going to be a figure I'm going to have on the shelf displayed probably the way that you're seeing it right now. Yes, he has the limitations when it comes to what he has for an accessory count. I mean, I still feel like for a Platinum Edition and a Gold Label collection, figures like that fall within those lines should at least, at the very least, have swappable hands, even if you have no plans to use those hands. By the way, though, the hands and the helmet are two things that unfortunately are molded in gold plastic, where everything else around it that's been done in gold, unfortunately, has been painted. And the two golds don't quite match together, but I'm not disappointed at all that I had the chance to pick this guy up. He's going to have just as much shelf space as the other Doctor, even though the other Doctor is kind of more a team player. This is the Dr. Fate that's going to be kind of working solo. If you guys, though, are interested to get this Dr. Fate, let me know down below in the comments section. And really, of the two Doctors, which do you think is the better looking release and use of this mold? By the way, going back to picking this one up, if you guys are interested, you can also head over to the Facebook seller, Popeye the Toy Man. Yeah, that's where I ended up getting this Dr. Fate and and actually a couple of other DC Multiverse figures that you've already seen reviews for. If you guys did, in the meantime, enjoy this video, want to do it a solid, throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on that bell, and of course come back. Well, we have wrapped up things right now for Dr. Fate. The fate for this channel, certainly when it comes to DC Multiverse figures, there's going to be a lot more coming your way for the rest of this week. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.